All right, let's talk about what makes a motorcycle truly great. Because it's not just about the chrome or how fast it goes, right? It's about the ride itself, and whether that ride is the dream you always imagined or a total mechanical nightmare. We're going to dig into reliability, some pretty legendary failures, and what actually makes a bike a bestseller.
Okay, let's dive right in. Every rider knows these two feelings all too well. On one side, you've got the dream, that feeling of total freedom, just you and the open road on a machine you can trust. And on the other side, well, you've got the nightmare, constantly breaking down, always worried about the next big repair bill. And the line between those two, more often than not, it comes down to one single thing: reliability.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll check out the reliability scorecard to see which brands you can actually count on. Then, oh yeah, we're taking a trip to engineering's Hall of Shame to see what happens when things go horribly wrong. After that, we'll see how sales and reliability stack up against each other. And finally, we'll talk about how you can find the perfect ride for you.
Okay, let's kick things off with the cold, hard data. I mean, when you're putting your faith in two wheels on the highway, you really want to know which brands have a rock-solid reputation for getting you where you're going and back again.
And it's probably not going to shock you to learn that the big four from Japan, we're talking Yamaha, Honda, Suzuki, and Kawasaki, just own the top of the reliability charts. For decades, they built this ironclad reputation for making bikes with super low failure rates. They really set the standard for everyone else.
And when you look at the numbers, the differences are, well, they're pretty huge. Check this out. According to data from Consumer Reports, only about 11% of Yamaha owners report a big failure in the first 4 years. Now compare that to a classic American brand like Harley-Davidson at 26%, and then a premium European brand like BMW all the way up at 40%. That is a massive difference.
But, reliability isn't just about avoiding a few headaches and repair bills. Sometimes a tiny design flaw can lead to something way, way worse. So now, let's look at a couple of bikes that became famous for all the wrong reasons.
Case in point, the 1997 Suzuki TL1000S. I mean, on paper, this thing was awesome. It had this beastly V-twin engine. It was supposed to go head-to-head with Ducati. But one major engineering blunder earned it maybe the scariest nickname in all of motorcycling: the Widowmaker.
So what was the problem? Well, the fatal flaw was its super innovative and complicated rear suspension. Instead of a normal shock absorber, it used this rotary damper that would just get really hot when you were riding hard. And when it overheated, the fluid inside would thin out, and the rear suspension would pretty much just give up. This made the bike incredibly unstable, leading to these violent moments where the handlebars would just whip from side to side, something riders call a tank slapper. Absolutely terrifying. And if you think that's bad, the story of the Bimota V2 is even crazier. This bike was supposed to be a game changer, a two-stroke sport bike with this revolutionary fuel injection system. But the whole thing was a total disaster. The bikes barely ran, and the cost of trying to fix the hundreds of bikes that were returned, it was so high, it actually drove this legendary Italian company straight into bankruptcy. Okay, so we've seen catastrophic failure. But what about unbelievable success? This all brings up a really important question. Does being bulletproof reliable actually mean a bike is going to be a bestseller? I mean, that's the million-dollar question for any manufacturer, isn't it? Or in this case, it's more like the 100 million unit question. To answer it, we have to look at not just the best-selling motorcycle ever, but the best-selling motor vehicle, period, of all time. Over 100 million. That is how many Honda Super Cubs have been sold since it first came out back in 1958. Just let that number sink in. It makes it the most produced motor vehicle in human history. It's beaten every car, every truck, anything with an engine you can think of. And the Super Cub's total world domination was no accident. It was built on a foundation of just absolute, unshakable reliability. Unlike those over-engineered bikes we just talked about, its design was pure simplicity. That made it cheap to own and super easy to fix. Its clutchless transmission made riding accessible to millions of people who were kind of intimidated by a normal motorcycle. And on top of all that, it had one of the best marketing campaigns ever, which totally changed how the public saw motorcycles. So it's pretty clear, right? Reliability is a massive, massive piece of the puzzle. The data proves it, the failing is highlighted, and the biggest success story in history is built on it. But it's not the only piece of the puzzle when you're trying to choose your own bike. The best bike for you? Well, it really depends on what you want to do with it.
Are you looking for a laid-back cruiser, something you can just cruise on comfortably? Or maybe you're all about speed and want a razor-sharp sport bike for those twisty roads. Or hey, maybe you're the go-anywheres type and you need a rugged adventure bike that can handle pavement, dirt, and everything in between.
And you know, this really gets to the core of it. The data, the numbers, they give us an amazing place to start. But that final choice, it is deeply, deeply personal. It's about how the bike makes you feel, how it fits your lifestyle, maybe even how it matches your personality.
So in the end, finding that perfect ride is all about combining your head and your heart. The head uses the data to make a smart, reliable choice. But the heart? That's what finds the bike that really speaks to you. So the real question isn't just, what's the most reliable bike? It's, what makes a bike the perfect ride for you? Thanks for watching.